Hello, everyone. Alex Da Silva, co founder and director of Happy as Larry Group. Today's video is about fear. Funnily enough, it's taken me about half an hour to do this video. And guess the reason why. Fear is a killer, is an absolute killer. It takes a lot of lives. It takes a lot from people. Um, Takes away their courage, takes away their dignity, takes away their life, takes away their livelihood. Um, it completely destroys people. It did with me. It did with me for years. Fear was one of my biggest defects. It was one which really gripped me from quite a young age, actually, from being a little kid. I grew up in Brazil, and I remember always being fearful, always being scared of being told off, being scared of not being good enough, having that fear of, not being the best in school, the best football player, the best martial artist, the best son, the best grandson. It was a constant thing, it was a real constant thing for me. And of course, fear leads to everything else, everything else. Depression, anxiety, anything that makes you want to change the way you feel. And the worst thing about fear as well is that it stopped me from moving on with my life. It stopped me from moving on. It stopped me from enjoying myself. I battled with fear around relationships. I battled with fear around work. I battled with fear, when I used to do mixed martial arts. I battled with fear with my weight. I was very overweight at, stages of my life. I battled with food quite a lot. So I had a fear of, how do I look? Am I looking my best? Is somebody going to like me? Somebody going to fancy me, or are they not? The fear was constantly there. It was horrible, absolutely horrible. To live up here, to live in your head and just not understand why you can't get out of it, and why this loop just keeps going round and round and round in circles. And the fear just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. That's the issue. When you don't know what to do, the fear gets bigger and bigger. It can absolutely cripple, and it cripples people. Um, I know people that isolate themselves. I've been a victim of that isolation, just completely shutting myself away from the world. Not wanting to speak to anybody, not wanting to be around anybody. Not wanting to tell anyone. The shame of just saying that you're fearful about something, and that you just need some help. Just to go out there and just say, listen, I'm really struggling with something, especially in this world where everything is so competitive. If you're going into work, you've got to be your best. You've got to be number one. You've got to compete with somebody else. And there's always that fear: am I going to be good enough? Am I good enough? Can I be the best? Am I doing what's expected? And this is another thing: expectations. There are so many expectations of us in so many different ways. Whether it's work, relationship, at home, as a father, as a son, as a grandson. The list goes on and on and on. And that's something that I will touch on in a completely different video. But it just goes to show how it can really affect people. Fear is is a real one. It's a big one. It's a big one for most people. So how do you tackle it? How do you tackle fear? You start to understand that it's not real. That's the first step. It's understanding that fear is a lie. And it is. Fear is a lie. We have to understand that the thoughts in our head aren't real. Because if you put yourself in the moment, in that present moment of time, whatever is going on in your head is not real. You are living in that moment. My head is telling me this video is not going to be good enough. Everybody that's watching this video is going to laugh. People are not going to watch it. Nobody's going to relate to this. But the fact of the matter is I'm sat down on my sofa, nice and cozy, and I'm talking to you and letting you know how I'm feeling. I'm feeling good today. I feel amazing. It's been a fantastic journey so far. My journey has been incredible. In life, I've had to deal with a lot of things, a lot of diversity, moving to London from a different country. I was born in Brazil, and I came here when I was 11. I couldn't speak the language, so I had a lot of things that I needed to deal with. And as a child, you overcome anything. You can overcome anything. You just throw yourself out there, and you just get on with it. Kids do. Kids are innocent. They're not built like we do, as adults. By the time we get to adulthood, we start to really master fear. We master so many different types of behaviors that turn into fear. So it doesn't matter what we do. We've mastered so many millions and billion ways of telling us that, we can't do this, or we're not good enough, or we're not going to achieve, or I can't lose weight, or I can't be the best at this job. I'm never going to make money. I'm never going to own a business. I'm never. Next thing you know, days go by, weeks go by, months go by, years go by. And what do? Nothing. We do nothing. We keep living in that fear that sits deep inside of us, and nothing changes. And what we need to realize is that it's not real. What sits in here is not real. What sits in here is what's real. Understanding that what your body is telling you is the reality. And what's the worst that can happen? You go and try something, it works, and then what? Then you prove to yourself that actually what you've been fearful all along isn't real. And what we're trying to help people with, and what we're trying to teach people, is to understand that, we've got a program, actions that you can put in place in order to overcome fear, or in order to tackle it, to be able to wake up every single day. I know people that the first thing they do when they wake up is they're full of fear. Whether it's come through a dream, or whether it's something that happened the day before, or, whether it's just because of how they are, because of how their mind works. The first thing that they think of is, oh my God, I've got to wake up today. I've got to face life. What on earth am I going to do? I've done that so many times. I used to dread waking up in the morning. There'd be times I wish I didn't. And that's the honest truth. And I think we've got to understand that once we overcome this, anything is possible. And I can tell you that for sure. Anything is possible. People say, oh, it's impossible for me to do this, it's impossible for me to do that. I can tell you now it's not. And I can show you millions of different ways where you can. I can't do it for you. It's something that you have to do it. But you have to understand, and you have to learn the ways to do it. You have to learn, and put programs and actions into place in order to make those changes. And we can do that. This is what our business does. We help people to change. So the reason I'm doing this video is just to relate. Just to relate, because again, I mentioned in previous videos, look, I'm not here to sell, a one-stop shop solution where, I'll give you a few things, you walk away and you go, brilliant, this works for 2 days. What about the rest of my life? This is something that we want you to apply every single day of your life, so you can change. So you can change forever. You don't have to keep living in fear. You don't have to wake up every single day dreading the day ahead. You haven't even left the bed yet and you're already full of fear. I know that can happen. It's happened to me. Times where I just didn't want to go to work. I just didn't want to go into the office because I didn't like the people I was working with. I didn't like where I wanted to be. I wanted to be somewhere else. Here was my escapism. I just wanted to get away from everything. So, my way of coping with things was just to dream in fear. It doesn't sound, great at all, because it wasn't. It was a lie. Fact of the matter is everything I wanted to do was in here, was in my heart. And what I had to do is to start to realize that once I put those things into place, once I put all my plans, and I started to realize that I can achieve, I can be a better person, I can build this business, I can make this work. Once I started to believe that and I put the actions into place, believe me, it changed very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. And even today, it astounds me how amazing and how quickly this stuff works. And it's because I even apply it every single day. Every single day of my life I apply, these, this action, these daily actions that we work to, which we talked about. We were talking about the challenge, the first 10, helping people to get away from all of this, from this fear, sitting in self and not understanding why you can't move on. Fear is one of these things. In anything in life, if you live in a fearful environment, that's all you're going to experience. Until you break the mold, until you understand that you need to change completely, your life is never going to change. Until you start putting different actions and different things that are going to make you change in a positive way, you're always going to be stuck in the same place. And then you're going to wonder, why do I keep, why does that happen to him? Or why does that happen to her? Why are they successful? Why am I not? What we're here to show you is that those things can change. You can change, and it starts with you. It's as simple as that. Every step starts with you. If you look back to when you were a child, everything you did was action by you. Every good thing you did was action by you. We can give you, people can give you suggestions, they can give you ideas, they can guide you in certain ways. But effectively, the person that makes everything happen is you. That is it. There is no ifs and there is no buts. I can't change your life. You can change your life. And I can show you exactly how to do that. And fear is one of those things, Fear is one of those things that we can help you change. And it's so simple. It's so simple, and it's so incredible once you start putting these things into place. How life changes and how amazing you start to feel on a daily basis. And it's funny now that sometimes I have to look at my life and think, wow, I actually have more great days than I do bad days. I don't have bad days. I have days where, I may be a little bit flat, or, I might just not be in a great as mood as I was the day before. But do I have bad days? Am I full of fear? Am I stressed? Am I full of anxiety? Am I feeling depressed? No, I'm not. I wake up every single morning looking forward to doing this. Looking forward to speaking to you, looking forward to finding out, okay, what can we add to this? I'm working every single day and just growing and learning every single day so that we can build something that everybody can take away and they can live a better life, and they can keep passing it on and on and on. That's what this business is all about. It's about creating a community. It's about creating unity so that, we're not... One of the things that I've realized is when we live in fear and we live in self, we're very selfish, and generally as human beings nowadays, if we're completely honest, we are really selfish. It is, thinking about other people is not at the top of our priority. And in some cases, when you're looking to change in a positive way, then absolutely, I think you have to be selfish. I think you have to be selfish, because how are you going to be of any benefit to anybody else if you're not functioning to your potential? And that's what we're helping to achieve. We want you to achieve your top potential, for you to be able to go out into the world and go, listen, I know exactly how you feel. I felt exactly the same way. I know exactly what can help you. And that's what we want. We want this to spread like wildfire so that we can help as many people around the world as possible. Our mission is helping one person at a time, helping to change the world one person at a time. I hope you guys got something out of this. You know, I am known to be very passionate and sometimes waffle on a little bit, so I don't want to drag this on any more than I need to. But look, don't feel hopeless. Don't don't have don't let that fear take over you. Take over the fear. You know, fear is a lie. What you have to do is divorce that fear, you know, and look to find another partner, you know, a happier partner, something that's going to fulfill your life. And we can show you how to do that. So, as always, please like and share the videos. Follow us on YouTube for more videos. You can also follow us on Instagram at Happy as Larry Group. You can follow us on Twitter at Happy as Larry Group. You can find us on Facebook at Happy as Larry Group. For business services, we are on LinkedIn, and you can look on our website, which is www.happyaslarrygroup.com. I'm always here, guys. You can email us as well on info@happyaslarrygroup.com. If you've got any questions, comment below on the videos. Let us know what you think about the video. Let us know how you're feeling. You know, if we can help you. If you don't want to comment on a video, drop me a private email. We will get back to you. We get back to every single person that has emailed us so far. You know, the numbers are growing. We want to help as many people as possible. If you do want to change, take part in that 30-day challenge. Take part in that challenge, because if you put the action into it, I guarantee you those 30 days, you will start to change. You will start to change dramatically, and it will be an amazing change as well. Have a fantastic day. Have a fantastic evening, wherever you are around the world. I love you guys. Thank you so much, as always, for the support. And I'll see you soon.